This is Amy Gray-Cunningham, and you are listening to the Butterfly Kisses podcast, a journey of spiritual transformation. It has been my pleasure to speak with some amazing people who have had profound spiritual awakenings. Throughout these conversations, may you experience a life filled with joy, love, and personal growth. Now let's get going. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Butterfly Kisses podcast. I am your host, Amy Gray-Cunningham, and today I am featuring the incredibly talented Heather F. In this episode, we will be talking about the power of art and intuition. Heather is an artist who has discovered her unique spiritual gifts, and she now uses her gifts of art to create these beautiful spirit paintings. And she has this ability, this amazing ability to see colors around people's heads and shoulders. And these colors that she sees connect to the chakra system, which we will get into in just a few minutes. But she uses this gift to create stunning abstract paintings that offer healing and inspiration for her clients. But that's not all, because Heather also shares her experiences of synesthesia and clairsentience, and how she channels messages from both the living and those who have passed on, including our beloved pets. Her work is truly one of a kind, blending the arts with deep spiritual insight. Hello, Heather. Thank you so much for joining us today on Butterfly Kisses. I know this is such an interesting topic and story that you have with your painting and your gifts. I can't wait for everyone to hear about what you do. Tell us a little bit about who is Heather, and how did you get involved in spirit paintings?
Well, thank you for having me. It's nice to meet you officially. I am a visual artist. I'm based out of Raleigh, North Carolina. And a couple of years ago, I was an HR manager working in a corporate environment.
Wow. Okay.
Just a little different. And
Slightly.
I was sort of that kind of tired that no amount of time off or vacation or anything was going to fix. And it was like my soul was tired. And I was working with a spiritual teacher at the time and still do. And she and I were talking about what my spiritual gifts were, because I kept going down different paths of maybe I'm a coach, maybe I'm a Reiki master, maybe I'm a this. And I couldn't quite put my finger on what it was that was going to make me feel like whole, inspired. It was like my soul had a higher calling and I didn't know what it was. And so we talked a little bit about what I was like as a kid, and art was pervasive in my childhood. I was always a very creative kid. I loved music, loved dance, anything creative expression was my jam. And as I sort of moved into that corporate space, I sort of lost a lot of that. So a few years ago, I returned to painting, and it was almost like this flash of light that went off that said, this is it. This is what feels the best to me. And what I started to notice, even while I was still in corporate, was that I was seeing color billow out around people's heads. And when I would start to do a painting for someone in particular, I would see 2 to 3 colors for them that I associated with the chakra system. And that's sort of how I dove right into doing my artwork and creating these paintings for people.
So when you say see color, what do you mean? I mean, do you actually see color around people's heads, or is it just like a knowing, or?
It's a little bit of both. There are lots of times where if I'm sitting with somebody one-on-one and I'll start to see color kind of start to billow out around their heads and their shoulders, and I'll kind of get a feel for who they are as a person based on what color I see, almost like an aura. But then when I'm doing a painting for somebody, I will sit and meditate and then sort of see intuitively the colors that are coming through for them that are telling me something about where they spend time in their energy centers or their mind, body, spirit. I associate the color that I see with sort of where they are dwelling.
What do these colors tell you? I mean, if you see like orange, I mean, I know that's
Yeah.
second
I
chakra.
Yeah, I tend to see the color that is offers the most potential for somebody. So if I see orange for someone, that to me means that they dwell in their sacral chakra, which means they might be looking for a way to express themselves more creatively, or they're having trouble connecting to their emotions, or they're struggling in their relationships with other people or with themselves. And so I'll do a portrait for them that sort of offers them healing or messages that can help them move out of that dwelling space into more of a productive place where there's potential for more, for moreness for them.
Interesting. So how do these paintings show up for people? I mean, do you just like do you paint like people, or are they colors? Is it abstract or
They are abstract. They're abstract, and I try to get out of the way and let the ink and the and the paint do its own thing. So I kind of think that the minute I start the painting for somebody with the music that I'm listening to, with the shape that the paint takes on the paper, and with the symbols that start to form, those are all the ways that I channel the messages that are coming through for that person. So it ends up being an abstract painting where I will then sit down and say, okay, here's what came through. Here's what I saw. Here's what the symbols mean. Here's what the color means. And sort of have a conversation about what the significance of that is for that person.
do people normally resonate with that message?
They do. They do. And I'm laughing because there are times where, if I try to drive the process, if I try to get too involved in what it looks like,
Mhm.
goes horribly wrong for me. And when I just sort of say, okay, God, whatever it is that you want to say, let's say it on this painting together. That's when it has the most authentic and meaningful message for someone. So I can, turn a painting around for somebody and say, here's your radiant spirit on a canvas. And they go, it feels like their soul sort of recognizes themselves for the first time sometimes when they look at themselves in this very colorful sort of portrait that they've never seen before.
Amazing. Now, okay, here's a realistic question for
Uh-huh.
you. What did your family have to say when you left the corporate world to paint soul paintings or spirit paintings?
I still think they think I'm a little bit crazy. Not gonna lie. I do think that sometimes they're like, "What in the world is she doing?" But I also think that there's this place that where they look at me and they go, um, "I see you. I see what you're doing. I know it's not always easy, but I'm proud of you for sticking with it." Because it really, I mean, being a business owner is hard, being an artist is hard, being a solopreneur is hard. All of that is hard, and a lot of us don't we don't persist. And so that is the one thing about I just keep trying.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I love that. I love that. And you've got a lot of green on and green around. So that shows me that you're very heart centered. And I
yeah,
love that because I can tell just by the way you hold yourself and your personality that the love in the heart and wanting to help people comes
thank
through.
you.
So I
Yeah.
really like that. So tell us what you say that your strongest scent is clairsentience.
Mhm.
And you used a word earlier, and I'm going to butcher it. Scent, you go ahead and say what it
Okay, I
was.
was gonna say, do you want me to help you with that?
Yeah. Because
That word,
I didn't even write it down correctly. So
you're fine, you're fine. It's called synesthesia.
synesthesia, that's the word. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I've always kind of had this ability to kind of feel my way into situations or to sort of sense what's going on with somebody emotionally. So I have this clairsentience that enables me to kind of walk into a room or engage with somebody and sort of intuitively know what's happening with them.
Mhm.
Whether they're sad, whether they're angry, whether they're struggling with something. It's just sort of like this inner knowing that I've had since I was a kid. And I think my parents always said I was a very sensitive kid. And looking back, I kind of think, wow, I wonder if that was my gift really showing up early on, that I was just kind of taking people in and didn't really quite know how to process that as a young person. And so I experience music and taste and sound and just general energies through something called synesthesia, which is where the senses in your brain get crossed. So whereas you might just taste something and go, "Oh, that tastes like sweet chocolate," in my mind, I see that sweet chocolate as sort of like a swirl or like a note that goes up or down. And so in my brain, I'm sort of seeing symbols and shapes and different things are happening as I'm just kind of living my day to day.
Love that. I mean, that just is like multisensory. I mean,
Mhm.
just being able to experience life in a different way.
Yeah. And I didn't realize that it was unique. I thought everybody experienced things that way. I'd say to my dad, I think my dad has synesthesia too, because I'll say to him, "Does this taste like it goes up?" And he's like, "What? Like, does the taste go up at the top and then come back down?" And he said, "Yeah, it does." And I said, "What color would it be if you had to give it a color?" And he goes, "Brown." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's brown." So it's kind of funny. I think a lot of us have some aspect of it, but we may
Yeah.
not always be aware of and it comes in many forms. So you might ask somebody like if you could say what color are the days of the week? Somebody might say they're not they don't have a color. They're just Monday through Friday, but I see Monday as red and I see Wednesday as blue. So it's kind of like this weird little extra sensory thing that happens.
I wonder why Monday's red.
I
Stop.
don't know.
Don't go any further. Go back
Mondays are
to
hard.
Monday. That's funny. Wednesdays are, we're almost there. Woo.
Exactly.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about, childhood, Heather, and what type of life did you have growing up? Was this something that you've always had? I mean, I know that you said earlier that you were a very empathic child and all that. I mean, and then going into HR as well. I mean, that's a really people person type of career. So
Mhm.
you must have had this most of your life. But what were you like as a child growing up?
I think my parents would tell you that they are shocked that I am a guest on podcasts and do speaking and things because as a kid I was very shy.
Hmm.
Very, very shy. I wouldn't even like go up to the counter at McDonald's and ask for ketchup back in the day. I just wouldn't. So,
Wow.
but I was very creative, and I think that our gifts show up when we're kids, and so if you kind of look back at your childhood, a lot of the things that maybe you were attracted to or you felt drawn to intuitively are where your natural gifting lies. So for me, it was definitely around music, art, trying to find ways to express that. But I was also sort of like a weird kid in that I was extra curious about the Bible, about spirituality, about the mysteries of the unexplained. Like I had this curiosity about everything bigger than what I could explain or could be explained by, everyday normal things. So I've sort of always had this desire to learn more about why we're here, what our purpose is, what we're intended to do, and how to contribute to the world in a bigger way. That's always kind of been a part of me.
Wow, that is so cool. And were you like that with your friends as well? And just, giving them advice and help and
Yeah, that's actually one of the reasons I actually did end up going to get my coaching certification because I was the kind of person that people would come to all the time and say, "How do I figure this out? Help me think this through." And I kind of thought, there's something here where I have this ability to listen and help guide people. And so that was one of the things that led me to HR, that led me to coaching, that led me to all sorts of different certifications in that space, trying to kind of connect to this part of me that wanted to help people and that I think wanted to help heal people
yeah.
in a way too.
Well, and it's interesting that you've kind of created this modality, I think, because like you said earlier, you tried Reiki and you tried different things, but I haven't necessarily heard of this type of modality. I do have a friend of mine that paints um, spirit paintings or something similar to this, but not quite like yours. So it's a little bit different.
Mhm.
have you met anybody else that does readings or
I've met
intuitive?
a handful of people online who will paint music. They have sound to color synesthesia, so they will paint what they see when they
Mhm,
listen to music. And I've seen a handful of people who will paint like the portrait of the person with the aura that they see around them.
mhm.
But nobody like what I do, which is sort of to intuit the color and then to channel messages at the same time. That feels very specifically unique to
Yeah.
what I have. Yeah.
Yeah. Do people give you like questions or problems that they're working on ahead of time, or do you just get their name and say, okay, well, Billy Joe, I'm going to sit down and channel your inner spirit, or do
Yeah.
you have something to work with?
Yeah, no, I try not to interact too much with the person ahead of time. I just ask for their name and a photo, and
Hmm.
then I'll sit and meditate. And I keep a little sheet of paper next to me so I can write down what's coming through as I'm working through the portrait. And then when we sit together on a Zoom call, then I'll say, here's what I experienced, here's your painting, and then kind of say, here's what I see for you. And that's a chance for us to say, does this resonate with you? Does this make sense? And most of the time, I think most of the time, we intuitively already know what's going on with us. We just haven't been able to look at it or see it with a different perspective. And so a lot of times, I think people leave the session with me thinking they've seen themselves in a different way and they have a little bit more insight into what's going to help them either break through a block or be able to find the inspiration to move through something in order to get to the other side of an experience that they're having. Um, and that's the part of the conversation that I love the most because I feel like number one, they're leaving with this, image of themselves that they've never really gotten to see. I call their radiant spirit. And then
Hmm.
I think they also leave with just messages that are encouraging and loving and supportive of whatever it is that they're trying to work through.
I think that's wonderful.
Thank you.
Are you searching for a deeper connection with the unseen world? Well, then look no further. I am Amy Gray-Cunningham, and I invite you to explore the realms beyond the ordinary. As a gifted medium, I've spent years honing my abilities to bridge the gap between our world and the spirit realm. My unique approach to mediumship combines intuition, empathy, and a profound understanding of the unseen energies around us. Through a mediumship session, I can help you connect with your loved ones who have passed on, providing comfort, healing, and profound insights. Whether you're seeking closure, guidance, or simply a sense of peace, my mediumship sessions provide a secure and nurturing space for you to delve into the mysteries of the afterlife. Join me today on a transformative journey as I channel messages from the other side, offering validation, clarity, and a profound sense of connection to those who have crossed over. Book your mediumship session with me today. A typical session lasts about 50 minutes, giving us ample time to connect and for you to experience the power of a spiritual connection. So visit my website at amygraycunningham.com to schedule your session. Now get ready to unlock the healing that awaits you. Now you mentioned earlier that you also channel for people who have passed on,
Hmm.
dogs and animals.
Dogs.
How do you do that? That's so, I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah, I've
Mm.
done a handful of portraits for people who've passed away. I think sometimes it's hard to look at a picture of somebody that we love so much because it can be painful. So I can do a portrait for somebody in the abstract that gives them a way to honor that person or that pet in a different way that when they look at it, it offers them healing and it offers them grounding. And those are really interesting portraits too, because I feel like I did one for somebody who I didn't know when he was living. But as I'm working through his portrait, typically for someone, I'll see 2 to 3 colors, maybe no more. But for his, it was every color under the sun with gold and silver. And I felt like he was standing right here going, add some more, add some more. And it was so interesting. I've never had that experience before. And when I spoke to his wife afterwards and shared his portrait, she was just laughing and crying because she said that's who he was. He would always add a little bit more. He wanted to flourish. He wanted color. He wanted, bigger. I'm getting chills now thinking about it. So that was so interesting to me because, I have to learn to trust that what's coming through is being, offered with a loving message for someone and to try not to get into the way of whatever that is.
It's interesting. So do you also do them for animals who are alive or just those who have passed?
Yeah, I'll do them for anyone living or past, dogs or cats. And I'll just kind of tune into their energy and paint a portrait for them. And those are really often the upper chakra colors because pets usually offer unconditional love. So we get a lot of pinks and purples and golds and just really beautiful, abstract, inky, very colorful pieces for them.
No, I might get you to do my Buddy and my Charlie too.
Oh, I love that.
Now, what is so I have to ask this question. What is one of the most unique paintings you've ever done for someone with the, most unique message, I guess?
Let me think. I've had a couple of experiences where the reaction the person has had has been emotional in a way that I didn't expect it to be. So the early on when I started painting, I was still working full time. And so I would take a day off here or there to paint in my garage. And I was painting for my friend who was coming over to drop something off. And I was intuiting her colors. They were the throat, they were the sacral, they were white for spirit. And as I poured her paint out on the canvas, I started to cry. And I felt like there was this emotional release. I didn't know if it was mine, if it was hers, but I felt at the time returning to art was sort of like a release for me because I had stopped being creative for so long. But she pulled up to my house and she got out of her car and she said, I don't know why, but on the way over here, I just started to cry. And when she looked at her painting, it was like she knew instantly what it was for. And it offered her tremendous healing in the way of looking at something that had happened in her past in a completely different way. And so that piece still hangs in her home today. And then there was another instance where I had a photographer in the studio and I kind of turned around with a large painting to show it to her, and she instantly started to cry. And she said, I don't know why. I just feel like that is me. And it's an abstract piece, right? So it doesn't have any figures or flowers or anything that you could go, oh, I love, hydrangeas or I love this. But she saw herself in that painting in a way that she hadn't seen herself in something else. And so those kinds of experiences for me are really powerful because it sort of affirms that music is healing, art is healing. There are so many things that offer us healing that if we tune into it, we can really, see things and see ourselves in a different way. So those are just some those examples that have stayed with me for a while.
No. So how does this help you heal?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that a lot of what I experience as an artist is the ability to process through my own thoughts, feelings, or emotions about things that are happening in the world around me, especially because of the way that I take in information and sort of, I think, process it on a day to day basis. So I like to use my art as a means to offer healing for other people, but I think that when I deliver a message to someone else, there's just as much healing in it for me as there is for them because we mirror for each other. And so if I'm telling you, to open up your heart and be more expressive, it's because I'm also saying it for myself. So every time I deliver a spirit portrait to somebody, I know that I'm also receiving the benefit of the message that's been coming through for them. So I get a lot of messages a lot.
That's amazing. And it's so true because when I do readings for people, I get that the same thing. It's,
Yeah.
it's so beneficial for me as well. And a lot of times the messages that come through are for me just as much as they are for
Yeah.
anybody else. So I like that.
That's powerful.
They are. I mean, it's very powerful. But so tell me, when you are when you're working in this space and you're meditating, and the words, the symbols, and everything are coming through, where how do you know what the symbols mean? Does that make sense? I mean,
Yeah, it makes total sense. Yeah. It's sort of like building a library of symbols in keeping track of when I've seen them over and over again. So, for example, if I start a painting and it starts with a spiral, then I know that this is about somebody who's experiencing a cycle in their life. And it's a cycle that has repeated multiple times. And oftentimes, depending on what color it's associated with, if it's with the heart, then it could be that they're in a cycle related to their heart, how they see, how they love themselves or not, or how they express love for other people. And so that symbol will show up for people. And then I also sort of, when I'm meditating for someone, I'll see in my mind's eye a symbol within each of the chakras. And so I'll know, if it is, I get some weird, interesting symbols sometimes. You probably do too. Like, I'll see a boat in somebody's solar plexus, and I'm like, okay, what is the boat about? Okay, so the boat is about traveling. The
yeah.
boat's about water. So then I'll kind of connect, well, what does a boat in your sense of identity or your sense of self-worth mean? Well, that could mean that you feel like you're on a journey of some kind to figure out who you are, or you're in, a position of trying to understand how you want to express yourself in the world, or how you want other people to see you. So it's really for me about trying to kind of build that library of symbols. And then sometimes it's a little bit of trial and error. Like, does this symbol make sense for you? What is this?
Yeah, it's
You
almost
know
like
what
you're
this
playing
is?
detective here, and
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wonder why they just don't say, "Hey, well, she's in a downward spiral, or she's in a spiral, and she's." Why don't they just say that to you? Why do they have, you know?
I think too, I'm still learning how to receive the messages too. Like, I think sometimes I had somebody want a spirit portrait, and I've mentioned this before. I think I got all up in my head about it, and I got in the way, and I was trying to make this portrait look a certain way for her. And I think I painted this portrait 8 times, and it looked the same each time. And I was like, I don't know what this is. What is this about? And then when I sat with it, I thought, okay, I get it. It's okay. And I think I thought that she wasn't gonna receive the message well, or that there was something about it that I don't know what I think I just got into my ego about it. But
Mhm.
anyway, when I sat down with her and delivered the message as it came through, it made total sense to her, and it actually was true for her. It was about her spirituality, it was about her relationship to God, higher power, and she's writing a book about it. And I didn't know that.
Oh,
But
how cool.
so at the end of it, I shipped her, all 9 paintings because it was it was part of the whole thing.
I've been there. I've been there before. I'm like, why, and then it's like, why didn't I just say that?
Exactly. That's
And I'm like,
exactly how I felt. Why didn't I just say that from the beginning? But I got
yeah,
all up in my head about it.
yeah. And I've learned to just go ahead and say whatever it is, because it may sound stupid to me, or I'm like, why is this, boat in my mind's eye?
Uh-huh.
Well, the person passed on a boat. I'm like, okay, let's finish showing me a boat. Like, it's a dinghy or something. I don't know.
Mhm.
Been there. That happens to me all the time. Now, you also do class therapy. Is that correct?
I do. Yep.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, I've been working on a series of classes that teach people how to use art for healing. So, kind of like art therapy, but more using their intuition to connect with themselves through color, through form, and through just sort of understanding themselves a bit more. So, it's a mix of meditation, journaling, art, and learning how to tap into their own intuition to just, heal, to find different ways of being in the world.
So, is that how you got into this? Did you learn how to tap into your own intuition? And you said earlier you had a mentor. How did
Mhm.
how did that happened for you?
Yeah. I found an amazing spiritual teacher, and she really helped me understand the clairs. She helped me understand the chakras. I went through this phase where I could not get enough of crystals and Reiki and sound heal. I mean, you talk about modalities. It's like I wanted to collect every possible tool and
Mm,
understand it a bit more. And I think for me, it was about finding it was about connecting the dots, because color was always really important to me as a kid, and that I wanted to change the colors of my room constantly. Or I would, watch TV and go, "Oh, everybody in this scene is wearing maroon," and nobody else would notice that, but I would notice that, and I'd kind of go, "What
mhm,
is that about?" And so, kind of being able to connect the color, to connect the art, and then, to be able to interpret, well, what does that mean if this symbol, this color, this shape come together? Then I recognized that there were messages in there. And so that sort of, for a long time, I just spent painting and asking people, can I paint what I see for you? Can I just practice this really, and try to make sure that what I'm receiving is the cleanest and clearest possible, and that I'm delivering these messages with love. So it was kind of like, nothing is wasted in the universe. Everything gets used for a purpose. So the coaching certification that I got came in handy, because I found myself in these intimate conversations with people, and kind of digging into things that might be happening in their lives and being able to help them through those things. But doing that through the modality that came most natural to me, which was art and color.
that's awesome. Yeah. I love I love to paint as well, and I love color and just but it's really interesting because I didn't even know I could paint until after my husband passed. So
Wow. So that was healing for you then too, probably.
yes, it was extremely healing to be able to paint and to pour emotion out onto a canvas and just watch something come to life. And,
Yeah.
you know, and I also love to restore old pieces and just
Oh,
bring the character of the piece back to life. It's just so much fun for me.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. I can see that.
I really enjoy doing that. But
Oh.
how can people work with you? I mean, how can they find you and work with you?
Yeah. Um, People can connect with me on social media. I'm at Heather Eck Artist there. And then on my website at heathereck.com, I've got some information there about spirit portraits and how to contact me. But if you go to heathereck.com/thank you, I've got some freebies on there for folks to learn about colors and chakras, and how those can, how you can become more aware of how to use color intentionally in your day to day too.
How can we do that? That's a good question. Thank
Yeah.
you for
Well,
asking that
it's
question.
you brought it up earlier too. You said I was wearing green.
Yeah.
Green is a heart color. So I love to help people sort of recognize where color shows up for them in their lives. So green, I intentionally chose green today because I wanted to express that heart. I wanted to be in the heart space. And when we wear a color, we wear it for ourselves, but we also wear it for other people too. So sort of
Mhm.
like me offering out love to people. But you can kind of look at your laundry when you pull it out of the dryer this week and go, wait, what's the most common color that I've been wearing? What have I been wearing for the last week? And you'll notice maybe I've been wearing a lot of black. What does that mean? Black for me is about feeling the need to go inward and feel protected and safe, to kind of hide a little bit. And so it's kind of fun to look at how you can intentionally use color to bolster your creativity, to give yourself more confidence, or to just kind of convey the sense of loving, kindness or friendliness to people.
Well, blue is all about the throat chakra and
Yeah,
speaking your truth. And I'm like, I put blue on today just because I knew I was going to be talking with you.
I love that. You're already doing it.
So yeah, it's very interesting, especially when we look at people who wear certain colors all the time,
Hmm.
constantly like, I wonder what that means,
Yeah,
or people who wear like vibrant colors, like zebra colors, or lots of color patterns, and but
yeah,
they've got a very open personality, and
yeah. very expressive. There was one a couple of weeks ago, I was pulling clothes out of the laundry room and I noticed that nearly everything was striped. Almost everything was horizontal striped. And I went, oh boy, what does this mean? Well, stripes are about surrender. So I was in a period of trying to just let go, right? Like, gotta surrender, gotta hand it over to God. And it was black and white stripes, red and white stripes, blue and white stripes, but it was all the colors. I was in surrender in every single chakra energy center that I could possibly conjure.
That's interesting. I'm gonna have to look at that. I actually just folded laundry this morning. Something I hate doing, but
Same.
ugh, somebody's got to one day invent one of those machines that just like fold and put away clothes for you.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
I would buy that for sure.
Yeah. Mine sit in the dryer for like forever, but anyway. Okay, so I will have all of the information. And just so everybody knows, the last name for Eck is ECK, correct?
That's right.
Heathereck.com. And I will make sure that all of that is in the show notes. Is there anything else that you'd like to let our listeners know today about who is Heather and what you do? And is
Great question. I think that, my goal is to just offer you love and support. So even if a spirit portrait isn't for you, I'd love to just connect with you, come say hi, and I can share some words of encouragement or just connect and find a safe place to be.
yeah. And your Facebook again is
At Heather Eck Artist.
Heather Eck Artist. Perfect. So everybody go find her on Facebook, like her, and see what she has to offer. I think, yeah, you're wonderful. I'm so glad that we got a chance to talk. So
Ew.
thank you. Thank you for joining us today and being a part of Butterfly Kisses and sharing your beautiful spirit with us and your talent. And I know people are just going to love their spirit portraits. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for tuning in to Butterfly Kisses podcast, a journey of spiritual transformation. We hope today's episode has sparked new thoughts, offered fresh perspectives, or simply entertained you. Remember, the conversation doesn't have to end here. Connect with us on social media, share your thoughts, and stay engaged. Also, share it with a friend. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep embracing the journey of spiritual transformation. Take care, and we'll catch you on the next episode. See ya.